In DC, for DC. DC Radio, 96.3 HD4 and DCRadio.gov.
This week on a very special 400th episode of The Big Show, we'll look back at some of my favorite interview subjects over the course of the rich history of this show. Countless hours of interviews, stories, and personalities, too many to cover, will be encompassed over the next hour. Plus, we'll have movie news and reviews, including The Invisible Man, Emma, Greed, and Queen Sono. All on this special edition of Keeping It Real with FilmGordon. Let's go.
Experience life through the eyes of a true film addict. Keeping it real with FilmGordon.
All right, and welcome. You can hear it in my voice, man. It's celebratory. It's 400. This is actually the first of 2 weeks of celebrations, because next week is the 100th episode of us doing the show here at DC Radio. So we'll get to that next week. But for today, it's 400. Charles Kirkland's in the building. What's going on, Charles?
All right. I'm here.
All right. We got Wilson Morales coming up a little later on. Of course, we got tons of reviews at the end of this show because we did none last week. And we will play clips and interviews. First 400 epidos. Keeping it real with FilmGordon.
You seem very excited, sir. I don't know.
Man, I am. I dredged up some stuff, man. There's a lot of jewels that have been dropped over 11 years, man. So
this is going to be a hot one. This is going to be a hot one.
We'll have that, man. So as I said, man, I want to start the show off, and I'm going to lead into Wilson Morales. A couple of real hot movie trailers dropped this week. Jordan Peele produced film, or actually I think he wrote Candyman. The trailer for that dropped. Wow. Jordan Peele is my dude. Love Jordan Peele. And the second big trailer that dropped this week, of course, was Netflix, Self-Made, the Madam C.J. Walker story.
Right.
Starring Octavia Spencer, Blair Underwood, Tiffany Haddish. There's a bunch of folks in the cast of that. So now, having set that up, I'm bringing on my guy from blackfilm.com, the founder, the man himself, the globetrotter, the man who does and who covers all the stuff I really want to cover, but I just can't make it. So we have him, Wilson Morales. What's up, brother?
Not much, as you mentioned, we had a lot of good trailers up here on the web today. Obviously, Candyman, Jordan Peele, he's starting to look like he's going to tackle the horror genre, which seems to be his forte. Between this, the Twilight series, obviously the two films he's done so far, we'll see. This time he's got a female director, Nia DaCosta. She did one small film called Little Woods, so this will either going to bring her to a bigger spotlight and see where she goes next, and hopefully, it's being released by Universal, and when no one notices that Universal seems to be the only studio giving black female directors more jobs than anybody else. They've had, obviously, Melina Matsoukas with Queen and Sugar, as well as, Gordon with Little. So that's three that I can name so far.
All right, man. I know, and I wanted you to hit all those important parts, but I just have this question to ask. I remember having a conversation when I was at Sundance a couple of years ago after I watched Hereditary. And somebody asked me, I said, man, this movie has set white folks back 500 years. I watched the trailer for Candyman, and in the trailer, why would you say the man's name 5 times if you know what's going to happen to you, and yet they persist? I don't get it. I don't understand it. This is why Tim Gordon is not your horror dude, because I deal on a common sense level, and they do not.
Well, the funny thing is, it was 5 of them that's doing this. Did they think there was power in numbers or something like that? What is going on with them?
I call it privilege, man. It's not going to happen to us.
No,
that's the other people. All right, so enough of that one. Let's talk about Self-Made, Wilson. That trailer, which Netflix dropped that one as well.
Yeah, people know about the Madam C.J. Walker story, but they don't really know so much. Even myself, I didn't know that was not her given name, but the name of her husband. Now we're starting to see more stories of black heroines, female heroines, who've got something to say. And, obviously, we saw last year with Harriet, and although it had mixed reviews, people had an eagerness to see it. And this one's going to play on Netflix, starring Oscar winner Octavia Spencer, along with Carmen Jogo, Blair Underwood, Tiffany Haddish. So, it's a 4-episode series, which would be a good breeze as opposed to trying to watch 10 or 12. When you have 10 to 12 episodes, that's not easy to watch, especially with Netflix, because they're always popping up with a new series almost every week. So for 4 episodes, you can get through it in one day or definitely, a day and a half.
All right, Wilson, I'm going to back up for a second because we are men of a certain age, and Charles included. We know who Madam C.J. Walker is. I think there's a lot of people that have no idea. And this film, I think, will be a way to introduce them. So that's number one. Number two, what to your point, and I would agree that, the whole thing with how Netflix just keeps dropping these series. Like, for instance, we're going to talk a little later on about Queen Sono that I knew was coming. But I woke up every day when I wake up, it's almost like I'm at Vegas and I'm pulling the lever. What are we gonna have today? Oh, Queen Sono, bet I'll watch that. So I think it's a great strategy. But yes, this is one that I'm really looking forward to, and the trailer looks fantastic for this. Casey Lemons is also directing the pilot.
Right.
So that's all I know from that. Do you have any other information on Self-Made?
Well, yeah, Quincy Lemons directed the first 2 episodes. Elaine Davis, who directed a film years ago called Lift, that starred Kerry Washington.
Oh, yeah.
He directed episodes 3 and 4. Like I said before, it's got some recognizable faces in the series. You're going to learn a lot about certain people, historical figures that you probably did not know anything about. The hair product for it, seems like black hair seems to be the trend these days. You got Matthew Cherry's Oscar-winning, hair look. You got Madam C.J. Walker, who's disciplined for the hair movement. And you had a movie that played at Sundance called Bad Hair through Justin Simeon.
Yeah.
So we're getting stories about black hair, which honestly a lot of people know about females. And if you can tell the right story, which they can all relate to, you're going to have some traffic.
All right, Wilson Morales, I'm going to stop you for a second, man, and just share this with you. I was going through 400 episodes of shows, and Wilson Morales has been around for a long time, right? And I've known Wilson, how long have we known each other now? 20 years? Maybe more?
Long time, yeah.
Yeah. And Wilson, what was the first? Wilson gives out the test to find out your film knowledge. What is your test, Wilson, that you give out to everybody? Go ahead.
It varies. It varies based on how old I think you may be and what you may have seen at the time of your age. Usually, an older person will be easier to give the test to because today's millennials probably haven't seen a lot of the black films in the 90s that we are well aware of, like the Mental Societies, the New Jack Cities and all that
and
stuff.
And that's where I was going. Wilson gave me the New Jack City test. And I was like, come on, Wilson, really? Man, and I forget. Nino Brown. And, what's the CMB stand for?
What up, brother?
You say now like you know the answer, but when you're put on the spot, you're like, you can't think of an answer right away. At the end of the day, you want to jump into your wheel of fortune and, from behind or sitting there as an audience watching it, we know the answer. But when those people are trying to answer it, like, it's not coming to them right away.
That's right. Put Charles, the spotlight on them.
I'm going to give Charles a test,
No, you're
man.
not.
Charles,
no, or you are not.
Denzel Washington's first movie, quick.
What?
Denzel Washington's first movie. You don't know this?
No, I don't know that.
You don't know Carbon Copy was Denzel Washington's first movie?
Carbon Copy with Bob Hoskins?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I didn't know
Morgan Freeman. Morgan Freeman should have been nominated for an Oscar in '87 for what movie? Where he played a pimp? Called Fast Black.
No, I don't know that one.
Street Smart. Christopher Reeves. He scared the bejesus out of him in that film. Come on, man. This is stuff you got to know. Wilson might put you on the spot. I'm trying to help you out.
He's not going to ask me about that one.
Okay.
He's not going to ask me about that
Wilson, next time when you meet Charles, man, give Charles the test. And I want to see if he passes.
Well, see, that's the thing. It's like, I'll talk to him first to get a sense of does he know enough. Because if he doesn't know enough, then it's a situation.
I won't even get to the test.
So, you don't want to talk to people who think seen enough movies. It's like when you go to a bar, you're talking about sports, and if the guy says to you, who's number 2 on the Yankees, then you know you don't start talking to him.
Right. All right, Wilson. So we got about 3 minutes left, man. I want you to talk about the experience of coming on here with us every day, because I'm doing a day of reflection. This whole show, I'm reflecting, man. You have been a huge part of what we have built here. We're keeping it real with FilmGordon. Thank you very much for your contributions, for everything, for all the interviews you've provided, for all the insight that you provided. But talk about what this experience means of having this sort of platform that we invite all of our colleagues, everybody you know, for the most part, that it's either a part of our film community, whether it's the CCA or just our own African-American film, our own community. But what does it mean to be a part of that, man?
Well, it's good to be on a platform where, it's one thing when you're reading this stuff, or you're watching this stuff, when you can hear this stuff from people of color and giving out this knowledge of projects or film reviews or anything that's coming up that, our people are in, black actors, black producers and directors, it's good because now people who are listening to this can add the show to their selection. It's like, okay, I want to be listening to people who know their stuff and not just reading off a teleprompter or anything like that.
Right.
It's like watching SportsCenter, and like I said, these guys know their sports. They don't need anything to be looking at. They know their sports. It's like watching these guys when they talk about after a game. When we're talking about films and we're name dropping this stuff, it feels like we're reading notes. I don't need a note when I come on the show because one, we're talking about it. We've both seen, or the three of us or four of us have seen or read what's been happening lately, and we're now sharing it to the public.
Well, brother, like I said, man, I am highly appreciative of everything you brought. You and I spend enough time talking to each other. I respect what you bring to the table, man. And you and I have had countless hours of conversations about film, man, over the course of our relationship, man. So it's one of the things that I pride myself. You, Sean, Mike, a bunch of us, man. Jamal, I was proud of him the other day because I saw that Jamie Foxx actually did the red carpet at ABFF's honors and acknowledged that Jamal had created like a stir where his video went viral when he kept calling out black celebrities that walked past the carpet. So I talked about you yesterday with that, Wilson. I need to give Jamal a call and big up him because that was great. It was like, man, I want to be put on blast walking by that carpet, man. But Wilson, let me let you get out of here, man. Tell people where they can follow you on social media and read your content, man.
Well, you can follow me over at blackson.com, which is the same word you use for Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram.
Brother, it has been a pleasure, man. We will definitely talk. I'm sure you got something coming up. I guess I'll read about it like everybody else, man. That's how we do. And Wilson went silent on that one.
All right. No, that's cool. I will talk to you guys later.
Thanks, Wilson.
Bye.
All right, take care.
All right. And of course, that was Wilson Morales, who joins us at the top of each show. Just let us know what's going on in entertainment. We're going to take a break right now. And the reflection episode, the 400th episode of The Big Show, keeping it real with FilmGordon here at 96.3 HD4 DCRadio.gov, and we'll be right back. All right, and welcome back to a very special episode, as I've been saying all show long. This is the 400th episode of Keeping It Real with FilmGordon. I am Tim Gordon, joined by Charles Kirkland. And Charles, I was thinking on the ride in today about very first episode. The idea of starting Keeping It Real with FilmGordon. I remember starting in March of that year. The show wouldn't go live until November. But I remember in March thinking for months, having produced radio for a decade over at HUR and over at Magic 102.3, I knew I needed to get back on and have another show. I'd done shows at WOL back in the day. And I was trying to find and figure out exactly what this sort of format could be. And I remember that cold November the 19th, 2009, I actually called up one of my mentors that I go to church with, one of the elders. Right. We prayed together for about 45 minutes. And I did this show. I remember the first show. We prayed for 45 minutes. He prayed over the success. So I thought about that driving in because 400 episodes later, bro, we still here.
That was a 45-minute prayer. It's
45-minute prayer, man. We went through, and then going through the litany of guests that had been on the show. Of course, Denzel Washington, Oprah Winfrey, Tyler Perry, Ava DuVernay, Matthew Cherry, who just won the Oscar a couple of weeks ago, has done the show twice.
Yes.
We've had several. Tika Sumpter's been on the show multiple times. Shanoa Maxwell.
Not with me here.
There have been a gang of people that have done this show, man. And again, I am thankful for everybody. You heard me talking about Wilson earlier. There are other contributors and people who have done this show. So thankful for them. But I'm gonna get into this, man, because I don't cry as a rule, but I'm feeling. I'm feeling it today. They looking at me, man. I'm like, dude, what do y'all want me to say? I'm just grateful, man.
I've seen you cry.
Do you realize?
I've seen you cry.
People do not get an opportunity to do what we do and then do it over and over the way we've done it for years. So, having said that, man, for one of the earliest interviews we did, which was actually, and you notice on your sheet that you guys have here, there are numbers besides all these interviews.
Right.
That tells you the episode we did those in. So if this is 400, our first interview that we're going to play is from the 13th episode we did, like 4 months in. Wesley Snipes and Antoine Fuqua came into D.C., and they were here to talk about the film Brooklyn's Finest. This is back in 2012, whatever year it was. And I asked Wesley Snipes to discuss the similarities between his character in that film, in Brooklyn's Finest, to Nino Brown in New Jack City, that Wilson just talked about in the last segment, and Antoine Fuqua, who I've talked about for years, who's a muscular director, talks about making cop stories. Check out this clip.
For you, the role in this film closely parallels a role that folks will be a little familiar with in the past. When you read the script, what did you think about that role? And did you think that by taking it, that, it would make that kind of connection?
Absolutely. Yeah, I didn't want to do a Nino Brown too. I didn't want to project the image of another brother who's a drug dealer. And he explained, no, that's not the direction we want to go in. We want to show the arc of this guy's life. We want to show him mature. We want him to show that he's realized that drug game and that hustle game is a dead-end street. And he wants a better life. He wants something. There's a bigger future out there. There's other options.
All right, our next clip. It was from an interview that, thank God, Charles Kirkland wasn't around, because I don't know if we could have made it. But I sat down with, easy way to say it, my first crush, Pam Grier.
See?
For 45 minutes. 45 minutes with Pam Grier, man. Pam Grier at the time had put out a book. And I literally had finished her book the night before, and I think I came on, when she came on the show, I said, what am I supposed to do with my weekends now? I don't have I don't have Pam Grier in my life now. What am I supposed to do? Which made her laugh. But Pam Grier was a lot of fun. The team has told me that there's certain things that I can't say about Pam on the air, because y'all chastise me. They all looking at me, shaking their heads. All right, I'm not gonna say it. But Pam Grier
put your finger on the button, Shane.
And one of the things that I was interested in, and I wanted to actually share this with the audience, was during that time period, Pam Grier was Foxy Brown and Coffee. And also, Tamara Dobson was Cleopatra Jones, and there was this huge, in the media, rivalry between the two of them. Pam Grier talks about her relationship with Tamara Dobson, and it absolutely is not true, as you will hear here.
I focus a lot on the relationships that you built with other women, and the one that I thought was really interesting in the book was your relationship with Tamara Dobson, who many in the media tried to pit the two of you against each other. While you were making Coffee and Foxy Brown, she was working on Cleopatra Jones, and then the sequel to that film. Talk to my audience and tell them about the relationship between the two of you ladies.
We were dear friends. And when I first met her, she had this fabulous air, because she was one of the top models in New York. And she had all of this great Louis Vuitton luggage with the LV all over it, and she was just stunning.
All right. Wow. Yeah.
Eye-opening.
What about that? All right. So our next guest that I want to feature today, I had a chance to sit down. I remember getting in contact with her, and she and I got on the phone on a Saturday afternoon. And this is back when we used to have the show on a Thursday before we did it now on the weekends. But we talked over the weekend, me and this actress, and I told her how much I revered this classic cult African-American film. The film we're talking about is Sparkle. The guest was Lynette McKee, who played Sister in Sparkle. She and I had a long-ranging off-air conversation, and then she shared when she came on the show that day that she had literally gotten engaged that morning, and we were celebrating. But I wanted her to talk to you guys or listen to this comment that she had about Sister in Sparkle, and I just want you to check this out.
Oh, I remember everything about Sparkle. Everything. I mean, it was such an incredible experience. Here I was, a young girl, who had come from Detroit. I'd always kind of been professional in my line of work. I had a hit record here when I was quite young in Detroit, but I certainly hadn't dabbled in films. I thought my mainstay in the entertainment industry was going to be music, because that's what I've always done. I've always played keyboards, and I write music, and I program, and I produce my own stuff. And I thought that was going to be, if there is such a thing as claim to fame, I thought that would be my claim to fame. But I was a little before my time, and I was kind of doing what Alicia Keys is doing now, only I was doing it back then. And my big problem was I was confronted all the time with, well, what do you want to do?
All right, our next guest, again, I repeat the exact same thing I just said, Shane, a couple of minutes ago. Thank God Charles wasn't here for this one. The beautiful Ray Dawn Chong.
Is there a reason why there's so many women in the first lineup here?
Look, these were some these were some fascinating interviews early on in our tenure. And Ray Dawn Chong, a lot of people don't remember, who are of age now, don't remember her in stuff like Quest for Fire, Commando. She went on to do Soul Man, The Color Purple. So many good movies. But she talks about what literally put a halt to her career, because in 1986, when Spike Lee, along with the new revolution of filmmakers, John Singleton and all of those guys came in, she was, I guess, no pun intended, she was blackballed.
Yeah.
She was told by Spike Lee that she was too light, and she had made these movies, and he didn't think that she was a part of the revolution, and none of the black directors cast her. So I'm going to let her talk a little bit about her legacy here, and she goes into it a little bit more in this clip.
The industry, the establishment wasn't as gun-shy, I think, as far as integration. So when I came up at the time that I did, I was able to break through and get roles that were not specifically written for a person of color. So I could talk my way into auditions and get roles that were non-specific, but were still good enough roles, right? So I kept doing this, and I'd have to really hustle to get in there. So it was a time when it wasn't such a big thing, and it wasn't like casting other. Whereas the more Afrocentric and more successful the African-American film directors became, the more the establishment industry then said, oh, well, they've got their own. We don't need to worry about them anymore.
All right. This last interview that we're going to feature in this segment, and I'm looking at Charles laughing again, starts with the story. When I was at the Acapulco, it was ABFF, but this is 1999, so this is 20 years ago. It was the Acapulco Black Film Fest. And I was there as Have Plenty was debuting at the festival, along with a film called Toi, which is a Kenya Moore movie. I had the great pleasure of hanging out with Shanoa Maxwell and Chris Chereau, who was the director and also starred as Lee. She was Have, so Have Plenty,
Yeah.
And the three of us, well, there's a story. I'll let you hear the story, but I'll tell you guys off mic, but it was hilarious. We were there behind Kenya Moore, but we go into it in this segment. Check out this clip with Shanoa Maxwell and I as we reminisce about our encounter at ABFF.
Now, back in 1999...
Why are you going to take me back all the way to 1999? It was a good year, though. It was a good year.
Well, no, the audience will appreciate this. You know,
Okay.
our paths crossed at the then called Acapulco Black Film Festival, where you know, I guess you and director Christopher Scott Chereau were showing Have Plenty. Now, were you guys screening Have Plenty there, or were you just hanging out that year?
Actually, we were screening Have Plenty, and it was one of the first. It was the first year Acapulco Black Film Festival was. It was the biggest year. It was like their premiere year, and it was when independent films started to really, really pop. So, yeah, we were just screening it there, actually.
All right, we're going to take a break right now. We got more interviews coming, man, and there was tons of stuff, Charles. I couldn't even get in here, man. We probably need to do a second reflections because there's tons of more interviews and clips that I wanted to play.
All right.
All right. We're going to take a break right now. We're going to come back on the other side with more of the 400th episode of Keeping It Real with FilmGordon. We'll be right back. All right, and welcome back to what for me is a very sentimental and just heart-tugging show for me. The 400th episode of Keeping It Real with FilmGordon. Man, when 500 comes, I don't know what we're going to do, Charles. I don't know, man. I mean, it's just, we got stuff in the vault, man.
We got to rent out a room.
We got stuff in the vault, man.
Have a live show and all that good stuff.
Wow, man. Well, you know, man, our last segment, we covered some stories of some of the favorite interviews I've done, and it continues now, Charles, with this next interview, which is near and dear to my heart, which I knew we had to get on. I interviewed the cast of 35 and Ticking. Russ Parr, who's a friend of mine, who's also a radio personality here in town, directed this film, which starred a then very young Kevin Hart, along with Tamla Jones and Nicole Larry Parker and Keith Robinson, who went on to do Dreamgirls. But I was very interested in talking with Tamla Jones. And this is the only interview I've ever done professionally that a publicist called me up, who's a friend of mine, was like, y'all was crushing together on that show. Y'all trying to date each other. I was like, no, I'm being a pro. These are just the questions that came out. This is the direction of flirty energy that the two of us had on air.
But you were trying to.
I was not trying.
You were trying.
I think Tamla Jones is an amazing actress. She's very talented. Yeah, she's mad fine. Sorry, baby, at home. But she's mad fine. But anyway, in this clip, we were talking, and Tamla made a comment about how difficult it was to find love in Hollywood. And you will hear in this next exchange, she discusses the challenges of having a relationship in Hollywood. I was incredulous. Check out my response.
It's the business that we work in. You can't really go around dating everybody in this business because if you plan to be here for a long time, you're going to see them for a long time. And not every relationship ends on a good note. So it's not good to date other actors and stuff like that. I know there's some actresses that do, and there's some that are married to some. But for me, I don't think that's a good idea. That's one. Number two, everything is a smokescreen out here. You go out with a guy, you guys have a great dinner, you're talking, he's told you all these wonderful things, and then a month later, he's a monster.
All right, up next. Wow, what can I say? If the other one was fun, this one was great too. This actress, Moon Bloodgood, I had been a favorite of mine since a show called Journeyman. That's about 15 years ago. And she and I actually did an interview where we were at the, what is it called, right downtown? The Grand, not the Hyatt. What's the big hotel in Georgetown that we always do the junkets at? The Ritz-Carlton.
Ritz-Carlton.
So we were at the Ritz-Carlton, but not the one in Georgetown, but we were at the one on 22nd Street, downtown, the one that's in the city.
Okay.
And for whatever reason, instead of taking us to a suite, they rented out the entire cafe area, and it was just me and Moon Bloodgood sitting across from each other at a booth. And the publicist probably sat about 4 tables away. And I was like, word, wow, me and Moon just chopping it up, huh? So she and I sat down, and I'm setting it up for a reason because you'll hear the quality of it sounds a little interesting. We talk about, stop it, the disappointment of the cancellation of one of my favorite sci-fi shows, of course, Journeyman, and how the cancellation broke her heart.
Yeah, it was during a lot of things I can say about Journeyman. It was during the writer's strike. We got a new president, and I think we had a lot more fans than anyone realized, and they still come up to me, and I'm always amazed. And gosh, I love that show. And one of the creators has a show now on TNT, Franklin and Bash, I think is the show. And I'm sensitive. I don't think I ever recovered from that kind of disappointment. And I think I'm a little bit more. We'll put it this way, for Falling Skies, I have no expectations. That's what I learned from what happened to me with Daybreak and Journeyman. And it can seem almost like I'm detached, but I just think I don't want to go through that kind of heartbreak again. So maybe I don't allow myself to get as excited, but I don't think I'll be as broken if it doesn't.
All right, this next one. Charles was like, I can't wait till you get to this one. There was a film that came out probably about 8 or 9 years ago.
Searching for
Sugar Man. The director who I interviewed, which we're not going to feature today, would later commit suicide. True story. The film also introduced, believe it or not, a guy we would meet in a documentary like last year, Clarence Avant, the Black Godfather. But the Black Godfather ran a label called Sussex Records, which signed the artist Rodriguez. Rodriguez put out 2 albums. Neither of them sold well. And to borrow a lyric from one of his songs, they dropped him like a week before Christmas. He disappeared until, 20 years later, when people in South Africa who had been checking his music out put his picture on a milk carton. His daughter found out about it, contacted him, and found out not only was he very much alive, he was working construction in Detroit. And it brought him back. It is, to me, one of the most remarkable stories that if it wasn't even real, it would make a great movie. Here is me sitting down with the legend, Rodriguez, discussing the global impact of his music in this clip.
The things that were happening in South Africa, I understand the apartheid was taking hold of South Africa, and my fan base, our Afrikaans, they've been down there over 200 years. And I've met the audience since then, and the thing is, they were soldiers who were serving in defense of their country in Angola and in Namibia, which is right in South Africa. Anyway, and apparently they were exchanging cassettes of my material, and so that's what I knew about it. One soldier told me, we made love to your music, we made war to your music. They had conscription there, and so they had to serve, and in America we had the same situation.
All right, up next. Wow. Now this one was interesting. This actor, Nate Parker, who later went on to become a filmmaker, who had made a film called Birth of a Nation, which summarily got him exiled from Hollywood. I mean, I'm not being funny. It's true. Nate Parker and I've done several interviews, and he's done this show multiple times. We had him on the show here for Arbitrage. We had him on for The Great Debaters. We had him on for Beyond the Lights. So Nate Parker, and we had him on for Birth of a Nation. So he's done the show at least 4 times, right? And over the years, everybody always knew about allegations and all this stuff. But the thing about Nate Parker, which I think is very sad, is that, and you'll hear it in this clip, this is when he did Arbitrage in 2012, and it almost forecast what would happen to him years later. And, I just was like, wow. I talked to him about how he selects his roles, and he talked about the selectivity in what he's looking for. And also you'll hear in this interview him say, Nat Turner, in 2012, 5 years before he made Birth of a Nation. Fascinating stuff. Check it out.
I mean, when you look at the landscape of material right now in Hollywood, there are very few projects that present the black man with integrity or strength. So more projects are out there that emasculate us, that are counterproductive to the progress of our community, that denigrate our existence just as people. And I just refuse to take those roles. I don't I believe in God, and I believe that He's put me on this path, and He's given me this opportunity to use this platform for the community, whether it be the film community, whether it be the Black community, whether it be the artist community, whether it be the global community. I have an opportunity to make a statement over and over again with these projects. So I refuse to step into a role that will push any of those communities backwards. That being said, it comes at a price.
Now up next, you'll like this one. Here's a guy that's done the show about 3 times as well. We tried to get him on for Hair Love. He was too busy. He's big now. But back in the day,
Oscar winner.
Watch this. Back in the day, Matthew A. Cherry did Keeping It Real with FilmGordon multiple times as well. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. And, this interview here, Charles, is from when he did the film The Last Fall, which is a directorial debut.
Yeah.
The Last Fall was kind of based on his own life story that he was a former football player who would become a filmmaker. And, he was sitting there along with the star of the film. What's the dark-skinned dude who played him? I can't remember his name.
Nope. It's not there.
God, man, I apologize, brother, because you my dude. But it's just if it ain't on this sheet of paper, I don't remember it right now. But Matthew A. Cherry discusses the evolution of his life story to the big screen in this clip from 2013, 2014. Check it out.
It's been an amazing reception, actually, and quite frankly, kind of surprisingly. I don't think anybody thinks their life is that important where they're like, hey, this will make a good movie. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of almost a semi-arrogant thing to think. But, the reason why the film came together the way it did was just, I don't know. I'm a fan of just telling stories that really haven't been told. And I just have noticed this just huge disconnect and this huge misconception about the life of a professional athlete, in particular football players, because football is very unique in the fact that these guys don't have guaranteed contracts. The average career is only 3 years. Most people are in and out the league, and when they're in their mid-20s, 25 years old, your dream is gone, and you're trying to figure out that next step of your life.
All right. This is for Shane, this next one. Long before he was Rashid Lynn, Lonnie Rashid Lynn? Long before Common was that, he was a kid from the Chi. He was out of Chicago. It's common sense. What? This you knew this? Watch this. Charles and I don't really know what you know because there's some stuff we think you should know, and you be looking at us like, So I'm assuming you didn't know the origin of Common. But anyway, I had an opportunity to sit down with Common. I met Common at the Critics' Choice Awards years ago when Selma came out. But before that, we sat down when he had a movie called Love that came out. What was it called? Losing Uncle Vincent?
Right.
Or Loving Uncle Vincent?
Loving Uncle Vincent.
Loving Uncle Vincent. Yeah, okay. I'm looking at Shane's face. Yeah, okay. So that one worked. You knew that one.
Wow, okay.
All right, well, cool. I talked to Common at that time that he was literally just transitioning from music into acting, and he had done stuff like Smoking Aces. He was on, what was it, Something Wheels, the way he played the slave. You got to watch more TV, man. No. AMC. Hell on Wheels was the name of the show.
He was in Hell on Wheels? Okay.
He was a star in Hell on Wheels. Yeah.
Never watched it, but I heard of it. I never watched it.
So I asked him a question about his career. And again, this is Common speaking his career direction into existence, because listen to what he says and think about what Common is doing now. This is what he was talking about 5 or 6 years ago. Check it out.
Well, it's definitely part of a larger plan. I thank God for the opportunity and the blessings to be able to be an actor and explore my craft and art form of acting. When I first started studying acting, I was like, I want to have a career that's like long and with integrity and stellar. I want to be known as one of the greats before it's all said and done. And like it made me not be too thirsty for roles. I'm hungry for them, but like thirsty, I'm not going to just take anything just to be in a movie. And it does, and no, all the films I've done have not always had substance to them. Some of them action, fun movies, Smoking Aces. But it's something that you can the entertainment does bring, and part of that is just fun, and some of it can be healing, some of it can be inspirational.
All right, this last clip. Now, this one, I had to get in the show. I bumped Tika Sumpter out. I bumped out, Mario Van Peebles. I bumped out a couple of people because we needed to hear this. This next piece is the two members of the Sugar Hill Band, the Sugar Hill Gang, Wonder Mike and Mike. Is it Mike G? Mike G. Yeah. Am I saying that right?
I don't know.
I am Wonder Mike. Something Mike Shane.
Master G.
Master G. Thank you. I'm like, I had that wrong. Okay. These are two members of two original members of the Sugar Hill gang. And the thing that's interesting about this is that they talk about the actual formation of how Rapper's Delight was created, including one of what I think is the most ironic line in all of hip hop history. How does whatever you do in your lifetime, you never let an MC steal your rhyme. That's exactly what happened when Big Bang Hank literally word for word stole Casanova Fly's rhyme. Didn't even bother to change the name.
Nope.
Didn't even change. I'm the CAS. Like
A-N-O-V-A.
My head exploded. Like I was doing that interview and my head exploded like, wow. So this next clip, here's the Sugar Hill Gang discussing the creation of Rapper's Delight.
The people that will remain nameless, they were recruiting talent, and they happened to be in front of the pizza parlor, and I walked up on the situation. They auditioned me in the back seat of a 98, and then we all went up to the person that remained nameless' home, and we auditioned there, and she decided that she didn't want to choose between the three of us, because it was actually only supposed to be one person. So she decided she wouldn't choose between the three of us. She put all three of us together. And then, from there we went into the studio, and, what happened is what, the world is known to this.
All right. Now, Mike, you were there in the house as well when she had you guys, after you came up to the house, you had to audition. Both you and Master G auditioned with your original rhymes. That was not the story for the third member of your group. Talk about that for a second.
No, it was not. No, it was not.
All right, we're going to take a break right now. We're going to come back on the other side, and it is going to be time for us to review films this week. We got three, actually we got four, but one of them is going to be what we call app-only content on Overtime. You guys keep it where you got it, as Charles is shaking his head like, it ain't going to be on this show. You guys keep it where you got it. You are listening to, and I'm going to say it, I spoke this into existence. This is really the big show. There's a lot of stuff we do every week, which is now why we got a second Overtime. Thank you, Max. We have Overtime. You guys keep it where you got it. You're listening to Keeping It Real with FilmGordon here at 96.3 HD. Wait a minute, 96.3 HD4 DCRadio.gov. All right, I'm not forgetting my own call letters. Okay, we out. We'll be right back. All right, and welcome back to Keeping It Real with FilmGordon. And this week's reviews are brought to you by FilmGordon.com. Experience film through the eyes of a true film addict. Read all of our film content on FilmGordon.com. Now, this week there are 3 movies and a new series on Netflix that we will review. But first up, cue the music. All right, first up is Greed, which tells the story of self-made British billionaire Sir Richard McCready, whose retail empire is in crisis. The film stars Steve Coogan, David Mitchell, Isla Fisher, Shirley Henderson, Aisha Butterfield, Danita Gohill, Shania Shaikh, and Sarah Soleimani. And here's a clip from Greed. All right, this film is a smaller film that I had an opportunity to check out earlier this week, and it's based loosely on the life of Sir Richard Branson, who a lot of people today know as the CEO and founder of Virgin Atlantic and that airlines and everything else he's done. And he is played in this satirical film with a lot of over-the-top, if I can use the word, aplomb, from Steve Coogan, who really does an amazing job in this film and showing not just his character, his personality, but the characteristics that made him the industry titan that he became. Very brusque, loving to negotiate. I think he loved to negotiate more than he loved money itself. You know, the fact that he could just talk you down to his price was a huge part of what the film represented, as well as the relationships that he has in the business world and his personal life, including his mother, which plays a really prominent role. I thought Greed was a really interesting film for people who this is their thing. I know the whole British culture and as it relates to films and the stories that are being told of Brits is something that here in America is something that really appeals to an audience. I found the film, and maybe I probably need to watch it again. I thought Coogan was really good, and I've always liked his work. I thought Fisher was solid as well. I thought the rest of the cast did pretty interesting work. Film that I just liked. I didn't love it. It's probably not going to be memorable. I mean, it's something that I've watched that I probably need to revisit again. Didn't really make that much of an impression on me. And I'm not saying that in a way to say that the film by any stretch of the imagination is bad or boring or anything like that, but just didn't grab me at all. It's probably not subject matter. Like, I think Branson is an interesting guy. I think he's had an interesting life. But yeah, not my favorite satirical film. It didn't hit me in that spot. And for that reason, I'd give it a C+. I thought it was good. I didn't think it was great. I didn't think it was memorable. I just watched it and I kind of had some insight into the life of Branson and what made Branson. But other than that, not that memorable. All right. Next up is Emma. And this film follows the antics of a young woman, Emma Woodhouse, who lives in Georgian and Regency-era England and occupies herself with matchmaking in sometimes misguided, often meddlesome fashion in the lives of her friends and family. Of course, this is a comedy drama. It's directed by Autumn DeWilde, and it is written by Eleanor Catton and based on Jane Austen's 1815 novel of the same name. The film, of course, stars Anya Taylor-Joy, Johnny Flynn, Josh O'Connor, Callum Turner, Mia Goth, Miranda Hart, and the great Bill Nighy. And here is a clip from Emma. All right, this third adaptation of Austen's work, if you remember Gwyneth Paltrow and Emma back in 1996, of course, Alicia Silverstone in an updated version in Clueless, which is also another Emma story. This one, I will say, stands out largely for the costume and production design. I thought the costuming in this film is absolutely fantastic. Production design of recreating that time period, I thought they did a great job. I happened to sit in a private screening of this with the man to my left. His name is Charles Kirkland. We were the only two in the building. And I guess we can pull the curtain back. Charles was on his phone, Googling stuff. So was I. Exactly the same thing I said with the first film. I've seen this story already. Outside of the costuming and production design, I don't think Anya Joy I think her name is Anya Taylor-Joy didn't bring anything to this movie. And this, I think, and I talked about this with Little Women a couple of months ago. Whenever you make a movie like an adaptation over and over, it's kind of hard, man. I mean, to bring something to it. I mean, Clueless, I thought, worked because Clueless took the same story, sort of updated it into modern times, and gave it a story that actually worked. It was almost like a teen film, but it was actually like the story itself. This one, at the end of the year, I guess, they'll, Focus will push it for costume and production. You better not push it for anything else. Now, Bill Nighy, who I loved in stuff like Love Actually and some other films, I love Bill Nighy. So to me, I hate to say this, he was almost the best thing in the film to me. He was really the best thing in it. But Outside of that, again, C+ for Emma. Not memorable. I promise you, in 6 weeks, when we start getting closer to summertime, and I say, hey, man, remember Emma? And you'll be like, what? Emma who? Exactly. So that's my take on Emma, because, again, we keep it real on this show. Our last movie that I want to have in this show, because if any other reviews that are on this show will be in the overtime, the extended overtime edition of The Big Show. But the last movie and the big movie of this week is the sci-fi horror film, The Invisible Man. This film is written and directed by Leigh Whannell, and it is a contemporary adaptation of the novel of the same name by H.G. Wells and a reboot of the Invisible Man film series. And it follows a woman who believes she is being stalked by her abusive partner despite him being dead. The film stars Elizabeth Moss, Aldous Hodge, and Storm Reed. And here is a clip from The Invisible Man. All right, I'm going to cut all the suspense on this one. You've listened to me give you reviews for years on this show, right? And you can tell when there are movies I don't like. And you can also tell when there are movies I really like. And when I really like a movie, I get this voice. I really like your movie. The fact that when I watched the trailer of this movie, and you know I'm a student of film, right? So I remember the original Invisible Man, 1941, Claude Rains. Good movie. Scary movie for the times. But the fact that you take the original film, blend it, put it in a blender with Sleeping with the Enemy, because basically it's almost the same story. Sleeping with the Enemy, but the guy's invisible. This movie, I'm just going to tell you straight up. Whenever you watch me watch horror movies, right, because I'm understanding how films are blocked. Blocking is when you see a shot, right, and sometimes the camera is kind of giving you all the space behind you. That's a foreshadow to let you know something's going to happen behind this character. Or another famous scene is when you see a character open up a refrigerator and then they shoot it in tight, and when they close it and there's somebody standing there, these are what I call blocking techniques. Well, Leigh Whannell in The Invisible Man blocks this movie in a way that your stomach is in knots for 2 hours, because the fact that this woman is being stalked by a person she can't see, wow. So basically the film starts off, she's in an abusive relationship. She escapes, a la Julia Roberts in Sleeping with the Enemy. She leaves, he commits suicide. He dies, right? Or so we think. Look, or so we think. Because suddenly there is a heavy emphasis that crazy stuff starts happening around her. She knows it's him, but cannot convince anybody else that it is him. And that, I think, is the absolute genius of what Leigh Whannell has done. Whannell, if you don't know his work, if you've seen Upgrade, which is a film that I loved, he did one of the Saw films. Am I correct? What else did Whannell do?
Insidious.
He did Insidious as well. I didn't see that one, so I had to ask because we're not doing Insidious. But here in The Invisible Man, the fact that he has taken something, as I said at the beginning, that we all know, put a contemporary twist on it. And not only did he put a contemporary twist on it, Shane, he actually executed it in a way that it's just one of the most difficult to watch movies. But at the end, when it ended, and by the way, I'm not going to tell you the end, the ending is delicious. It is really a great ending in that film. I got up, all I could say was, wow. Yeah, wow. I got to go back and see that again. So The Invisible Man, you heard me say this in January when Bad Boys came out. You know, a movie that's too good for its time period. This is a movie that could have been released in September or October easily, and it would play just as well then as it does now. Why, Universal, is this movie in February? Why are you releasing this movie in February? Why? It's too good to be in February. I'm giving The Invisible Man an A. Invisible Man is literally, I realize we 2 months, almost 3 months into the year now. It's the best movie I've seen this year. That Invisible Man is great. It's got a couple of flaws. It's not absolutely perfect. There's some stuff in there that doesn't make sense. But I will say that there's enough in there. The little stuff that doesn't make sense is clearly overwhelmed by the stuff that does. Very good film from Lee Wynell. Step the game up, bruh. Great job there. All right. We have one more review. It's not going to be on this show. Charles Kirkland is threatening bodily harm to me if I try to stuff another review in this show. You have to listen to the overtime edition of The Big Show and check that out. That's all we got for the 400th episode, Keeping It Real with FilmGordon. On behalf of the man behind the glass, the brother, the Cincinnati kid, the man who sometimes knows stuff and then other times doesn't, we call him Sugar Shane Lewis. And to my partner in crime, my spiritual road dog, the bread man, formerly known as the most selfish man in radio, it is the one, the only, Charles Kirkland. I am Tim Gordon. As I tell you guys every week, please see something good at the movies, Invisible Man. And until next week, I'm out. Take care.
Keeping it real. Keeping it real with FilmGordon. Keeping it real. Keeping it real. Keeping it real. Keeping it real with FilmGordon. Keeping it real. Keeping it real.
In DC, for DC. DC Radio, 96.3 HD4 and DCRadio.gov.